It's absolute gold for us to be standing here in front of so many of you from primary care, because it is quite hard to get in to see you guys. And if I have one take-home message, if I say it at the beginning and at the end, is get to know your community educator in your region. They are like gold, and they're the experts in Parkinson's and managing from newly diagnosed right to the other end. Yeah. So my name is Sharon Mackie. I'm a registered nurse. I'm the clinical lead for Parkinson's New Zealand. I've been in this role a year. My background is rehabilitation, and way back in the day it was spinal and brain injury rehab. And so for the last year it has been my pleasure and also my job to support the community educator service around the country. So the incidence of Parkinson's in New Zealand, there was a recent study published in September this year from Tony Pitcher and from the group in Christchurch based at the Brain Institute. And they predict that the numbers of people with Parkinson's are going to double in the next 25 years. So in New Zealand we have around 10,000 New Zealanders with Parkinson's. And it was really interesting to do, look at the stats census website to see how many people we have in New Zealand. So as of June, the estimate was 4.79. So you're all very familiar with we are all familiar with the New Zealand Health Service. We all work in it. So we're aware of all its strengths and its challenges. So I guess Parkinson's New Zealand organisations like us are needed to fill the gaps and support addressing the access for service for people pertaining to low income ethnicities and particularly in the rural areas. I have done some Red Cross work and working overseas, and I have to say that New Zealand has an A1 health system, compared to some countries. So Parkinson's New Zealand is a charity. We do most of our fundraising to do all the work that we do. 4% of our income comes from government funding. And how it came about was back in the 80s, a couple went to the GP, and the wife was diagnosed with Parkinson's, sent home with medication, and get on with your life. And at that time there was very little information or support for people with Parkinson's. So that husband set about finding out who else had Parkinson's, how to get further information, and that's from that small beginning as to what we are now. So this is our mission statement: provide support, education and information for people with Parkinson's and Parkinsonisms conditions, their families, carers and health professionals. And it's our vision to improve the everyday life of people living with Parkinson's. So this is what our community educator service looked like in 2010. They were called field workers around the country and unregulated. We had some nurses on the team and some social workers, and the service was viewed as a cup of tea service and a nice service to have. People would visit, but evidence has emerged around the impact of such a service on quality of life, reduced hospital admissions and bed nights and health literacy. It becomes very clear that there's a direct correlation between these outcomes and what we want to achieve. So it was also viewed in some areas and by health professional colleagues that really part of the team, and then in other areas it was, cup of tea service. So we really needed to look at how we did the service around the country. So this is what we look like now. We have a team of 33 around the country, mostly nurses. We've got 2 social workers and 2 occupational therapists on the team. It's great to have that allied professional team approach. So we developed competency frameworks that went into the job descriptions, and they aligned with the Nursing Council, and we renamed the team the Parkinson's Community Educator Service. So what do? Well, they play a pivotal role in delivering core services in the community, both at the interface with primary and secondary health services, social welfare, and integration into local community. So it's a really broad remit. Home visits are central to the service, and seeing people in their own setting is incredibly valuable, which is why we remain committed to keeping that service. These visits allow for the provision of individualised advice and personal assessments, and we also take care of partners and carers as well. And I guess doing the home visits is quite a luxury, and we have the luxury of a bit more time than, say, a GP appointment. And so that is where often our educators will hear about the really troubling symptoms, where it might be the sexuality issue or constipation or other things that take time to develop a rapport to get the real story of what's going on. So we continue to position ourselves as an expert voice in Parkinson's. Our population in New Zealand is too small for there to be specialists and allied health professionals who concentrate solely on Parkinson's. So educating people who work with people with Parkinson's is vital, and this may be in the hospital setting or in a rest home. And our educators go into rest homes, and you hear lots of stories, but one story where a elderly lady living in a residential home, the staff thought she was having them on because some mornings she could feed herself and then other mornings she just wouldn't even try. And when you look into what was going on, it was down to timing of medication. And so this poor woman, if she didn't get her medication when she needed it, she wasn't able to feed herself, and the staff thought that she was just playing pranks, and in fact she missed out on her breakfast. So, things like that are, pretty vital to people's quality of life. So where are we? We're all over New Zealand, and we've got an educator in the West Coast, and she has approximately 50 people there with Parkinson's, and she covers a 600 kilometre area. So we all travel, we're very mobile. Yeah. We have 20 divisions and branches around the country, and I can't say enough about all the activities that they do. Mostly volunteers working alongside community educators and their members. So the social support reduces stress and is important to counter the social isolation, and it improves physical health and helps us live longer. So one of my other take-home messages also is exercise is as important as medication in Parkinson's. And so around the country we have all sorts of Parkinson's specific exercise groups. There's Counterpunch, which is a boxing group specifically for people with Parkinson's. Dancing, we have choir groups too that really work on voice. People with Parkinson's, their voice gets quieter, and so it's about projection and strengthening those muscles. So we're always looking at new evidence-based ways of supporting people with Parkinson's. We have a specialty group, they're called UPBEAT, and they're our younger onset folk, and they're diagnosed before the age of 60 and under the age of 65. We hold a weekend every 18 months, and we've just had one in Waikato, and hugely successful, and is great for newly diagnosed and others to come and get a real camaraderie, meet other people that are in the same boat as them, and it's a great weekend for social learning and networking. Once a year, we're able to send 14 people to Outward Bound for a week, Parkinson's specific, and I was lucky enough to go this year as a support worker, and I tell you what, they do not let us off with anything, and the idea is to just push people and challenge people physically and emotionally to get them out of their comfort zone and realise that actually, Parkinson's is part of them, but it's not what they are. So that is, everyone absolutely comes back, recharged and invigorated.
Can I just ask a little question around the early onset Parkinson's? Because it's quite difficult for people when they're wanting to get on with their lives and their jobs and all that stuff to then kind of, I just wonder how you sell it, because my patients are not that, I don't really want to do that, and that's fair enough, they've got the rest of their life, but in some ways they do need to think a little bit about having Parkinson's as well, and
yes,
how they're managing.
Yeah,
I just don't quite, so they're kind of not going to the groups and it's kind of beneficial.
No. Sometimes when people are newly diagnosed, they actually don't want to know anything about their Parkinson's or actually be involved with Parkinson's New Zealand, but it's not till later that they're looking for information. We do, like the UPBEAT group is the younger group, and around the country in different regions have groups, social groups. Some of them just get together and go out for dinner. So it really is what's going on in that region and how prepared that person is to get engaged with those. Yeah. Outward Bound there was two farming guys on there, and both of them were there because their wives made them go, and didn't really want to be there, didn't really want to talk about their Parkinson's, and so it was just kind of outstanding to see the change in them over the week, and go from not wanting to talk about it to actually, okay, this is okay, yeah, like this is not ruling me. So a lot of the Parkinson's New Zealand activities is raising awareness, and we've just had Awareness Week from the 1st to the 7th of November, where you might have seen us out on the street with the buckets. And it's also this year's 200 years since the James Parkinson's put out the shaking palsy. So our theme for this Awareness Week was 200 years is too long, so without a cure. So we do a lot of interviews, we're in the papers, we write articles, do a lot of publications. And we do put out a lot of really amazing quality publications. We have a medical advisory panel, and they consist of neurologists, gerontologists, psychiatrists and movement disorders nurses, and they all review the publications to make sure that they're up-to-date, reliable and accurate. And we do have, I've got copies here of our latest Parkinsonian magazine. Everything is online on our website. This one's got an interesting article about the New Zealand veteran that just got a landmark case with Defence to get his Parkinson's was directly related to working with a chemical back in the 70s. And we have medication booklets. We've got a newly diagnosed booklet that's being updated, so that's be available hopefully before Christmas. We have an UPBEAT newsletter for our younger group. So there's a lot of good quality publications. We try and make the information really accessible, so there's a wealth of information on the website. We have fact sheets, and you might be interested in those for your patients. Your patients can go on and look. There's fact sheets there about how to manage all the symptoms of Parkinson's, so from swallowing, tremors, sleep, facial masking, to advanced care planning. We've got a YouTube channel, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, so yeah. We also, health professionals, researchers and universities are important stakeholders with us. We try to develop relationships and maintain good working relationships, and many of those people are engaged with our Parkinson's New Zealand and sit on our advisory panels and run seminars for us around the country. So our community educator service is there for you guys to use. It's there for you to help your people with Parkinson's. So get in touch and find out who your educator is for your area. And if you don't know, I've left my card there, you can just send me an email. And I'll hand over to my colleague, Andrea Savage, who's community educator in the Hutt region, so she's Wellington. Thanks, Andrea.